My father, Dalton Johnson, you welcome me back. He's been taking care of my mother for 12 years. She has Alzheimer's disease. He really deserves your applause. My colleagues to Menashe, Ron Gevurtz, who's also here from California. They've supported me in 1,000 different ways over the years, and I really can't thank them enough. My law partner, Seville Easley, who nominated me for this award. All the volunteers and staff who worked so hard to make this evening a success. My story tonight has a happy ending, but in the beginning something terrible happened. Jay and I met in 1983. We moved into a beautiful house on a tree-lined street in Menlo Park, just around the corner from downtown East Palo Alto, known locally as Whiskey Gulch. In Whiskey Gulch, there were 2 gay bars. So we went over there on foot the first week that we lived in that house. And there in the street, 3 blocks from our home, without warning or provocation, we were attacked and beaten because of our love for each other. I tell you this story now because I want to emphasize how much things have changed in the 30 years since, how Jay and I came from that night to this one, and how a simple idea like loving the person of your choice became a national movement. How that movement overturned Don't Ask, Don't Tell, how we struck down the Defense of Marriage Act and stand poised today to deliver on the promise of equality for Oregonians and for all Americans. Our movement has been predicated on that simplest principle of successful human interaction, that we should treat others in the way that we want to be treated, the golden rule. Once we understood how it applied in this context, it became the key to everything else. And I believe that it is the key to all of our professional interactions, including all of our successful interactions, including our professional ones. It's a reflection of the historic times that we have lived through that Jay and I have had 3 weddings. Our first wedding was for love. It was 1992, and we were way ahead of our time. No one we knew had ever heard of a gay wedding, but we had one. It was a big event for Gay Portland that summer. Over 200 people crowded into the Reed College Student Union to celebrate our love. Some of you are here tonight. It was the happiest day of my life. The struggle for marriage equality began in earnest the following spring. The Hawaii Supreme Court held that state's marriage statute unconstitutional. It was the first decision of its kind in America. Congress responded by passing the Defense of Marriage Act, refusing federal recognition to any same-sex marriage that a state might someday authorize. President Clinton signed it and it became the law. And so, my second wedding was a political statement. In March 2004, we again found ourselves on the forward edge of history. Gay and lesbian couples were not getting married legally yet, but all of a sudden, it seemed like people were getting married all over. 5 elected American leaders ordered their jurisdictions to begin issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples. One of those brave executives was our own Multnomah County Chair, Diane Lynn. When the Multnomah County staff began issuing marriage licenses, they were swamped. Gay and lesbian couples lined up around the block. We had weddings in the street, weddings in the Keller Auditorium, weddings everywhere. I can barely describe the joy that we all felt in finally having a seat at the American table. The following fall, 12 American states adopted anti-gay marriage measures at the ballot box. One of them was Oregon. It was the worst day ever for marriage equality. The Oregon Supreme Court eventually voided our marriage along with 3,000 others. We were not surprised, and yet we were devastated. Those of us who were involved in the Multnomah County strategy have come under criticism recently for the decisions that we made, but they were the right decisions then and now. Because as terrible as those experiences were, they served a larger purpose. People, including LGBT people and their families, began to see what we were fighting for. People began to see themselves reflected in our struggle. They saw our joy and they saw our pain. And ever so slightly, the wall of resistance began to crumble. My third wedding was for equality. The Supreme Court overturned the Defense of Marriage Act. Suddenly, there were federal aspects to same-sex marriages. We had to do it for our taxes, for Social Security, for a whole host of other reasons. So we took 3 dear friends, a priestess and 2 witnesses, to my law firm's conference room over in Vancouver, and we got married. We struggled for 20 years to get married. In the end, though, it was perfectly ordinary. Normalcy, of course, was all we ever wanted. We reveled in it. I'm talking a lot about equality with my clients these days. Like straight people, we now have to share our pensions with our spouses and pay alimony. Well, what a world we've created. A world where gay couples at last can plan for their futures, plan for illness, plan for death even, and have some assurance that their wishes will be respected and carried out. A world where gay youth can see a normal future for themselves with a loving partner and a supportive community. And how did we do it? Entire books are now being written about the strategies that were used, but ultimately we did it by assuming that others would apply the golden rule and would want us to be treated in the way that they would be treated. And we were right. By changing the terms of the debate so that people understood it was about love and not about changing the definition of marriage, we made our struggle into one that we could not lose. I was asked to talk tonight about what professionalism means to me. Here it is, being oneself, being real, being kind, being honest. To my mind, these are the characteristics of the true professional. But most important, the golden rule. Treat others as you would want to be treated. It's as simple and as difficult as that. Thank you so much for your attention, and thank you for this wonderful award.